Hello my dear friends, and welcome back to another very exciting Star Wars video. It is I, once again your favourite galactic hostess, Star Wars Meg, and as we take a break from Skeleton Crew, we do have some massive news. In the 4 years I've been doing this, talking about Star Wars updates, covering leaks and rumours, there are very few times, I can count them on one hand, where I've been genuinely surprised and taken aback by something. But today is one of those occasions. Overnight, we received one of the most unexpected leaks for the Mandalorian and Grogu movie, and this is coming from Jeff Snyder, a very reliable insider, corroborated by Bespin Bulletin, who's been hearing very much the same thing from his sources, and it concerns who is going to be one of the main villains of the Jon Favreau movie. Clone Wars fans, brace yourselves, this is massive. In the build-up to the Book of Boba Fett, I was speculating, given the appearance of Hutts in the Aftermath trilogy, given the way the Hutt cartel is active during this time period, that at some stage we're going to get Rotta the Hutt. We got two of Jabba's cousins, but not Stinky, from the Clone Wars movie in 2008. Well, that changes in 2026, because Rotta the Hutt is back. This time in live action. He's older now. In terms of Hutt years, he's still on the younger side of young adulthood, but he's going to be in the movie, and he's being voiced by Jeremy Allen White from The Bear. For years, Star Wars fans have wanted to know what happened to Jabba the Hutt's son. Well, now we're gonna find out. And isn't it interesting this is coming out just days after I said there could be a connection to the Hutts in Skeleton Crew? It's all coming together. And according to Bespin Bulletin, Rotta is described as, quote, buff. So he's gonna be far more in shape than his late father, who was strangled by Leia in episode 6. We don't know if they're using a puppet, or if they're going to do him CG like in the Book of Boba Fett for the twins, or in the Phantom Menace for Jabba. As they've been doing with other aliens, maybe it's a mix of both. But the Hutts are very important during this time period, and I'm curious how Rotta plays into it. Who are the Hutts' allies? How do they perceive the New Republic? Now, one of the reasons Rotta's appearance is so important is how this plays into Jon Favreau's overarching vision for the Mandoverse. Because who just had to deal with Hutts? Boba Fett. If Din Djarin comes across Rotta and needs some backup, needs help from someone who understands the underworld, who is literally daimyo of Tatooine, it's Boba Fett, Fennec Shand, and Coruscant. This should come as great news for fans of the Book of Boba, because the way I see it, this is a continuation. Let me explain. In Book of Boba Fett Season 1, the twins, Jabba's cousins, went to Tatooine, they wanted to claim the throne, found out Boba Fett was daimyo, they threatened him, and then they gave him a rancor and left. But I don't think that's where it ended. They always came across as a bit more scummy, with a bigger plan. What if after they returned to Nal Hutta, they regrouped, Rotta gets word, and in the name of his late father, is now going to try and claim the throne for himself, and challenge Boba Fett. The Hutts don't just give up, and I have a feeling Rotta and his allies are more powerful than the twins. He's got more influence, whether it's Nal Hutta, Nar Shaddaa. I think we're going to go to some of the most awesome backwater planets in the Jon Favreau movie, which Din and Grogu come across. I did predict Nar Shaddaa, especially after that photo of Jon and Dave in front of those mysterious streets on set. They were stood in front of some mysterious road signs. Something else I think is worth mentioning. In the expanded universe, we know quite a lot about what the Hutts were up to during this time period, but in Star Wars Disney canon, very little is known. I can imagine Rotta hates the New Republic because, for one thing, Leia, who's a big part of the government, killed his dad. And according to the novel Bloodline, we know both the centrists and the populists of the New Republic did not like the Hutts. What we do know for certain is that following Jabba's death, and even Bib Fortuna's death, there was a power vacuum, one which I think Boba Fett has to deal with. But in that process, the Kessel spice trade was affected, trade routes guarded by mercenaries hired by the Hutts were left vulnerable, and this led to the formation of various groups, including a tie-in to further down the timeline in The Rise of Skywalker. The creation of the Spice Runners of Kijimi, Sori Bliss's mother, is important during this time. So there are so many implications for the Hutts being around, being active, and being chosen to be in the Mandalorian and Grogu. So many different avenues, planets, systems to explore, implications that affect the political landscape. There is so much more to this just being a really cool cameo they're going to throw in. It sounds like Rotta's got a prominent role, and I can't wait to learn more. And like I said, if you're like me, and you wanted some kind of continuation to the Book of Boba Fett, this should be the biggest sign yet. It's very, very exciting. Stinky is back, guys. I know Ahsoka's stuck on Peridia, but could you imagine if there's some kind of reunion at some point? Hutts have always been a funny creature to me. Return of the Jedi was the first Star Wars movie I ever saw, and Jabba's palace, all of the awesome aliens around him, those were my entry point into the weirdness of the Star Wars universe, and I absolutely loved it. So you can imagine my excitement. We're getting more Hutts. That's amazing. I hope you're just as pumped as I am. This is such a Dave Filoni insertion. So how do I feel about this? To be honest, I'm in two minds about it. On the one hand, it's great. I love that Rotta is coming back to Star Wars, this time in live action. On the other hand, I kind of wish we didn't know about this. Leaks can be very exciting, especially when they're logical to a certain story, they make sense. Think of Cad Bane in Book of Boba Fett. There were rumours of his appearance in advance. However, other times like this when it's very out of left field, where it's in the scope of what could happen but you're not really expecting it, it's kind of a shame it gets leaked, because there's a part of you that wishes you could have found out for yourself and been really excited and surprised when he comes on screen. So in a sense, yes, it's pretty shocking, it's like, wow, but I kind of wish I would have found out when the film actually came out. It's nice they're diving into these more niche characters, and I decided I'd go back to the Star Wars encyclopedia that just came out and flip to the section on Rotta. As you'd expect, there isn't much, just a little synopsis of what happened to him early in the Clone Wars. So they've been very secretive about his inclusion, not even the smallest allusion to his return in any kind of comic, book, or source material. And we know there are going to be some other surprises as well. Zeb Orrelios, a massive one that continues on from Mando Season 3. He featured in the D23 trailer. Sigourney Weaver's going to be in it. And who knows who else? You want to know one of my predictions? And I know I'm going to get flack for saying this. K-Vess from Star Wars Outlaws. Are you kidding me? Hutts, smugglers, the underbelly of the galaxy. Considering Outlaws was the big Star Wars game of 2024, I wouldn't be too surprised to see Humberly Gonzalez as K-Vess, along with her companion Nyx. So, some pretty awesome stuff. What do you think of this leak? Are you excited? Do you think it connects to Boba Fett? Share your thoughts down below. Just a reminder guys, I've got a big breakdown of the new episode of Skeleton Crew coming later. You don't want to miss it. I hope you enjoyed the episode if you're watching this after it. We're gonna have a lot to talk about. In the meantime, why not check out some of my other videos? I talk about Star Wars every single day, so make sure to hit the big subscribe button if you're new, hit the bell for notifications, check me out on social media, and I'll see you in the next video. May the Force be with you, always.